My family totally iced me out of my sister's wedding. I was crushed, so I booked a flight to Greece, figured I'd be better off far away. Then I found out what happened. Her big day ended with a whole lot of betrayal and tears. Mom kept saying, "It's just one day," like it was no big deal that I wasn't even invited. But I'd already planned my escape. My phone blew up, but it was all just noise. No calls, not even a text from her. It was Lindsay, my cousin, who dropped the bomb at a family barbecue 3 months earlier. She casually asks, "So excited for Bella's wedding?" Like she was flipping burgers, not my whole world upside down. I just stared at her, speechless. "What wedding?" I asked. She thought I was joking, laughed, and said, "Her wedding, duh." I plastered on a fake smile, mumbled something about checking on the potato salad, and bolted. I needed 10 minutes in my car to process that my life had just taken a crazy turn. My little sister, Bella, always the golden girl, the center of attention, was getting married, and I hadn't even gotten a save the date. It shouldn't have surprised me, I guess. I've always been the invisible, responsible older brother. Bella's always been the star. Dance recitals, front row seats for her, birthday parties. Horses, bouncy castles, the works. Even a semester in Florence, all paid for by the same parents who told me college was a no-go when I was 17. Meanwhile, I was 18, working full-time at a grocery store just to keep the lights on. Honestly, it hurt way more than I thought it would. Being left off the wedding guest list wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate snub, and it felt cold and embarrassing in a way that's hard to put into words. I kept my cool through the rest of the cookout, chatting and smiling, trying to act like everything was fine. But on the inside, I felt like I was on the other side of a glass, watching my family, who I barely felt a part of anymore, go on with their lives, leaving me behind. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone for a solid 10 minutes before I decided to call my mom. She answered on the third ring, sounding happy. "Hey, honey," she chirped. "Hey," I said. "Quick question, any reason why I didn't get an invite to Bella's wedding?" There was a beat of silence, followed by a clink like she was stirring something in a mug. "Oh, that," I repeated. "Well," she said, as casually as if she were talking about the weather. "It's Bella's special day. She wanted it small." "Small?" My voice cracked a little. "You invited 40 cousins. I counted," Mom sighed. "Look, don't be dramatic. It's just one day. Just one day. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe an apology or at least some understanding." But all I got was the same tone she'd always used, the one that said, "Stop making this about you." I was 32 years old, and I felt invisible at my own family's gathering. I thanked her, hung up, and stared at my ceiling in the dark for a long time. But something had shifted inside me. I was done. I'm over being a background character in my own story. I was so done being the good guy, always there, paying my share, keeping my mouth shut. If they wanted rid of me, fine. I'd show them what it was really like. So I booked a trip. First class, a gorgeous villa overlooking the ocean in Greece, and that was just the start. I didn't tell a soul I was leaving, not even my coworkers. I just put in for time off, grabbed a small bag, and disappeared from our group chat faster than you can say abracadabra. A week before Bella's wedding, I landed in Athens, then hopped on a tiny plane to some island I couldn't even pronounce the name of. Seriously, if you've never seen Greece at sunset, you're missing out. It's breathtaking. My villa was perched on the cliff like it was part of the rock itself. White walls, a blue roof, and a pool that looked right out over the Aegean Sea. I didn't even bother taking off my shoes. I just dumped my bags, grabbed a water, and walked straight out onto the balcony like I owned the place. And right then, I felt something I hadn't felt in ages, true peace. Real, honest-to-goodness calm. Not that fake peace you put on for family dinners, not the kind you get after finally paying off your car. This was different. It was this feeling of total freedom, the salty air, the sun on my skin, telling me I didn't owe anyone anything. Not a single thing. I didn't post anything online for a whole day. I just soaked it all in. But the next day, I did share a picture. No words, no tags, just the picture. Okay, so there I was, chilling on the deck at sunset. The water behind me was all shades of purple and gold, beautiful. I had a glass of wine, gave a little smile, and hit share. Right away, there was a response. 3 little dots from my mom in the family chat, like she was about to type, then nothing. Bella saw the story but didn't reach out. My cousin Lindsay sent a fire emoji. My aunt commented, "Living the dream." I didn't say anything back to any of them. Instead, I booked a sunset yak cruise. By day 3, I was at this restaurant eating fresh bass, and it was so good I almost teared up in the tzatziki. I also shared a picture of just the plate and the view, hoping they'd put it together. I never said anything about the wedding, her name, or anything snarky. That would have been way too obvious. Nope, I wanted them to feel my not being there because I wasn't saying a thing. I could just picture the wedding weekend back home. Pastel dresses, monogrammed napkins, and perfect pictures that screamed perfect family. I imagined them all smiling, clinking glasses, pretending everything was just peachy. And in every single photo, there would be an empty space. No brother of the bride, no best man speech, just a quiet nothing where I should have been. Let them wonder. Let them gossip. I didn't care anymore. I was done waiting to be included. This was my life, and I was gonna live it even if I had to do it solo. 3 days after the wedding, my phone started blowing up. The first call came in at 7:12 a.m. Greek time. My phone vibrated on the nightstand, that weird buzz that always means trouble. I cracked open my eyes, squinting at the screen. Mom missed calls, then Aunt Carol, then bam, missed calls from Uncle Mark, Bella's friend Rachel, and even Dad's new wife, Donna. Can you believe it? I shot right up in bed, clutching my chest. I hadn't talked to most of them in ages, and suddenly they were all blowing up my phone like I'd won the lottery or something. My gut dropped. Something awful had to have happened. I unlocked my phone. 23 missed calls, 7 voicemails, and 4 texts, all just saying, "Call me now." Then my cousin Lindsay's text popped up, and finally some clarity. It said, "Holy crap, see this? It's all over TikTok." I furrowed my brow. What on earth was going viral on TikTok? She sent a link to a video 47 seconds long, posted just hours before. The thumbnail was blurry, but it looked like some kind of event hall, all confetti and a woman in white. I hit play. The video started, crazy yelling, people scrambling, chaos. Then this bridesmaid throws a bouquet, not like, a nice toss, but straight in someone's face. The camera zoomed in on Bella, the bride. She was bawling, screaming something I couldn't understand. Then someone in the video yelled, "That's the maid of honor." I paused it, rewound. I watched it again, still reeling. Sabrina, Bella's best friend, was the maid of honor. The groom was standing there like hands up in the air, trying to stop a fight, as his new wife and another woman just ripped into each other in front of all the guests, like 150 people, all stunned. Even though the sound was bad, I could still make out what they were saying. He said he loved me. "Bella, you absolute snake. You were supposed to be my friend. And then the final blow, we slept together while you were planning this wedding." I just sat there, frozen, still holding my phone. My sister's wedding didn't end with a happy dance or a fancy car, but with betrayal, screaming, and a bridesmaid fight, all caught on camera. The video had like tons of views, and then the family started calling. Not to warn me or say sorry, but they were all begging me to come home. By noon, the calls had turned from frantic to pathetic. My mom had left 6 voicemails by then, and each one was more desperate than the last. One stood out to me the most. She was crying, or pretending to. "Daniel," she sniffled, "please, your sister is a mess. We need you here. The whole family is falling apart. You don't understand what this has done to us. To us, not to Bella, not for the bride whose wedding turned into a huge drama. Like what?" As if the family name was the actual tragedy. I was sitting on a sunny terrace, my feet bare, drinking Greek coffee as the waves crashed gently below. Her voice, all broken and shaky, coming through my phone, felt so surreal. There I was, watching sailboats drift across the ocean, peaceful as could be, like they didn't know a thing about heartbreak. Then my dad texted me, my dad of all people, the same guy who told me to suck it up when I didn't get into college. "Son," he wrote, "I know things have been tough, but your sister's really upset. Family's supposed to be there for each other." Family. That word, man, it had been used against me so many times I didn't even know what it meant anymore. To them, family only mattered when they needed something, when the bills piled up. When something went wrong, good old reliable Daniel was there to fix it. But now they were finally getting a taste of what life was like without me around. And at Bella's wedding, there was this emptiness. Me not being there, the guy who always showed up, even when nobody wanted me to, well, it finally made them notice. I didn't text back right away. I just let the day kind of float by, this perfect golden moment. Later that night, I posted another picture of myself on the yacht, glass of wine, wind in my hair, sunset blazing behind me. No words, no explanation, just me happy, gone, and finally free. Around midnight, Bella messaged me. Not a call, a text. "I screwed up," she said. "I should have invited you. I didn't realize it'd be such a big deal. Please, I need you right now." I just looked at the message for ages, not because it moved me or anything, but because it was the first time in ages she'd said something real. Still, it wasn't enough, after a whole life of being an extra, always put last, or just plain forgotten. They were all figuring this out now. When you brush off the person who holds everything together long enough, they eventually just stop. I didn't write back, not to her, not to any of them, but I ended up reading her message again the next morning, and then the one after that. She added, "Please just come home, we'll talk, I just need you here." Years ago, I would have totally booked a flight that night, gotten flowers. I would have walked right into that house with a big smile and open arms. The dependable son, the good brother, the one who always cleaned up the messes. But that guy, he wasn't going to Greece. I'd spent years learning how to carry everything quietly. Bills, feelings, and the sorries that never came. And now here I was on a patio looking out at the ocean, and I realized maybe I didn't have to carry any of it anymore. They wanted me to come home, not to make things right, not to connect. But I'd have to be the same character they'd written for me the day Bella was born, the brother who claps in the crowd, the brother who gives up his savings when tuition's due, the sibling who gets ignored until he's needed. I spent the morning swimming under a sky that was so blue it looked fake. I ran into this couple from Madrid, and they thought I was a travel writer. I just let it slide. We swapped stories about wine and just cracked up. Nobody even asked about my sister. Nobody cared that I'd skipped out on a wedding, and for once I didn't feel that awful weight of guilt. That night, I sent my mom one text. "Tell Bella I hope she finds peace, but I'm not coming back, not right now, maybe later, maybe not at all." I saw her read it. No reply, just that same old silence from my childhood. But this time it didn't hurt. It was like I was finally free. I lifted my glass to the lake, all shiny in the moonlight, and I whispered something to myself, softly but sure. Let them feel it. The crazy thing about silence is how fast people try to fill it when they're not used to it. Back home, I was the one who made things happen. I checked in on everyone. I sent out birthday cards. I remembered anniversaries nobody else even knew about. I paid attention even when nobody asked me to, and when I stopped, they were completely lost. The messages didn't stop, they just changed. Guilt turned into flattery. "We always thought you were so down to earth. Your sister says you've always been the strong one. This family needs your example right now." But even with all that, no one had ever said, "I'm sorry." Not for all those years I was ignored. Not for how I always expected too much and delivered too little. Not for picking Bella over me over and over. And that told me everything I needed to know. That whole week felt like I'd finally broken free. I explored those old trails in Santorini, you know? I'd stand on those cliffs overlooking the ocean, just watching the stars shimmer on the water. I'd sit on a balcony with complete strangers, sharing olives and honey cheese, and we'd become friends, even if just for a little while. I didn't even talk about my family, I just didn't need to. Looking around at my life, so peaceful and beautiful and completely my own, it hit me. Something so simple yet so profound. I'd never been happier. It wasn't about getting away from my family, it was about finally stopping all the pretending, you know? A week after that wedding disaster, the stories started. Not from my family, but from people who knew them. Friends, some distant cousins, even my mom's old coworker. I think she found me on Instagram or something. It was like whispers on the wind. "Did you hear what happened at Bella's wedding?" Or, "I saw the video." No way she didn't see that coming. She looked awful. The groom bolted before they even cut the cake. And underneath it all, this quiet question kept popping up. Why wasn't her brother there? It spread like wildfire. I guess when you've always been the steady one, people notice when you're gone even more than when you're around. For so long, they'd built this whole image of Bella as perfect, the picture-perfect bride, this amazing golden girl. Everything fell apart for her right there on the dance floor, like some twisted fairy tale ending in front of everyone she ever cared about impressing. And me? I wasn't there to pick up the pieces. That didn't go unnoticed. People saw I was gone from the pictures, yeah, but it was more than that. For the first time, my absence actually meant something. I didn't say a word, didn't even give a nod when folks brought it up. I didn't need to. Everyone else was connecting the dots for me. These were the same people who used to call me too quiet, too serious, always off doing my own thing. Now they were like, "Oh, I get why he wasn't there." It wasn't about revenge, not exactly. It was just reality finally hitting. It's funny how being seen works. For years, I was invisible, the guy behind the camera, never in the picture, the one who cleaned up after the party died down while everyone else was still talking about how awesome it was. The brother whose birthday barely got a text. Then suddenly I was all anyone could talk about. Not because I did anything, but because I didn't. Back home, the whole wedding disaster was still playing out. The video had gotten some traction online. Not huge, but enough to make Bella and her friends feel mortified. People were unfollowing her left and right. Some of the bridesmaids even deleted their pictures from the reception. And it was more than just the drama of it all, too. It all blew up on her wedding day, the whole betrayal right out in the open for everyone to see. And the worst part? My brother wasn't even there. She was trying to salvage what was left of her reputation, and meanwhile I was sprawled on a patio, stuffing my face with baklava. A gentle breeze ruffled my shirt, like the wind was giving me a little pat on the back. I don't post much online, but when I do, it's always on purpose. There was a pic of me sipping wine, posted right as the comments on Bella's wedding photos turned nasty. Then a sunrise hike picture, just the word freedom as the caption. No tags, no pointed message, but everyone knew what it meant. My mom's texts started changing. First, she was begging. Then she was trying to make deals. "Your sister's really struggling," they said. "Maybe you could call even just for 5 minutes. She keeps asking if you're okay. This whole family's hurting. Please come home." It was almost funny. Where was all this concern when I was hurting? When did they quietly leave me out of everything? Like that time Bella got showered with expensive gifts and I got a card with nothing in it and a really awkward smile. I didn't ignore her texts, though. I didn't reply either. Instead, I just kept extending my trip. Another week, then another. I found this tiny, almost secret island. I got a little studio. It smelled like salt and fresh paint. I shopped at the morning market. I even learned to order a black coffee in broken Greek every day. This guy at the bakery down the street started calling me my friend with this little wink, you know? And it was weird, but for the first time ever, I didn't feel like I was running away. It felt like I'd finally arrived, not just in Greece, but in some part of myself I'd never even known was there. A me that didn't have to fix everyone's problems or be the golden child or the runner-up nobody cared about. Just a guy sitting under a fig tree, finally able to just breathe. It was late, almost 2 weeks after the wedding, when my phone lit up. My mom's name. I let it ring a couple times just to remind myself I could ignore it, but I picked up. "Daniel," she said, her voice all quiet. "Hi, Mom," I said back. There was this long pause. I could hear her breathing like she was searching for the right words, but they weren't there. I wasn't playing that game anymore. "She's not doing well," she finally said. "Doesn't leave the house, barely talks." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, and I really was. "I just really wish you were here," she said. I looked out the window. It was dark. I could hear the faint sound of a little bell, like a wind chime on someone's balcony. "I was there for years," I said softly. "You just didn't see me." She didn't argue, didn't say I was wrong. That silence was the truest thing she'd said to me in ages. "Are you coming home?" she asked. I kind of smiled, looking out at the calm Aegean Sea. "No," I said. "I think I finally am home." The next morning, I walked down to the beach, no shoes, just feeling the sand. The ocean just kept doing its thing, waves lapping the shore, same as always. I stood there, letting the water cool my feet, and this feeling, this lightness, hit me. It was like a weight had lifted. I didn't need to keep trying to prove myself to people who only appreciated me once I was gone. No more waiting around for sorries that would never come. I didn't need to burn any bridges, you know? I just stopped crossing them. Then the sunrise splashed across the water, so warm and calm, and it hit me. Sometimes the best revenge is just being at peace. And honestly, that was just the beginning.